Hello, my dudes, and welcome back to the Mikey and the Press Pass podcast. I'm Mike.
I'm still David.
And I'm here too.
Who are you?
Tell everybody who you is.
Your voice is familiar.
Yes, I'm, David's the lady that he keeps around that,
You gotta be more specific than that, girl.
Oh, damn.
That could be all five of them. I
Could
don't
be,
know.
I'm trying to party.
I'm the lady that shares an apartment with him currently, depending on how well he behaves.
Oh, yeah? I don't think it does. I don't think it does depend on how well I behave.
I think it does.
I don't think it does.
You're sleeping outside tonight.
Mm-mm.
All right.
Anyway, hey, yeah.
So what you guys been up to this week?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Two
yes.
weeks.
2 weeks.
Took a week off. Convalescing. I watched some movies and stuff.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. You've been reading a lot, so that's cool. I've been reading basically zero. I've read twice in the last 2 weeks.
I know, you're always like, hey, you want to watch TV? And I'm like, I kind of want to sit here and read. And you don't want to do that. I don't think you like your book.
I like it okay. I always I want to, because usually what it is I want to watch TV. I can't read and eat at the same time. For me, it's just distracting. I'm looking at the book and I'm shoveling food in my mouth, so I want to look at a TV when I'm shoveling food in my mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey,
Who said that?
what's going on?
Whoa, hey. Whoa.
This fucking guy. But no, we watched that, what was the name of it? That WeWork documentary.
Netflix?
Hulu.
Hulu.
It was pretty good. Production value was pretty high. It's probably not as... It's well produced, but once you've seen The Inventor and the Going Clear, once you've watched both of those, the WeWork one is it's kind of just in the same vein, but not
We're
quite.
just a bunch of dudes who rented some space to have people work in.
Yeah, it does kind of illuminate how fucking dumb that whole concept was. How did this company get a $50 billion evaluation or whatever it was?
Yeah, I don't know.
It reminded me of, working in a startup. And I would see that in the headlines and how, oh my God, it's this unicorn company. And I would just ask, well, aren't they just a real estate company? How are they even a tech company? I don't understand what technology they've made or anything.
Yeah.
And whenever I asked someone that I worked with, I'd get this answer well, you just don't understand. Silicon Valley is this magical, complex thing. And, you can have startups and they can just make it big. And I'd be like, okay, I guess I'm dumb,
A lot of moving parts you wouldn't understand.
A lot of ins, outs, what have you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just a woman. What do I know? So I was a little vindicated when it all came crashing down.
It's oh yeah, how's that company doing, bro?
How do you like them apples?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not an answer. It's a complex thing. It's go ahead and explain it then. Do you understand? Because if you do, I'm really curious. And if you can't explain it, then I just think that you don't understand it.
I kind of fault. I mean, in the documentary, they show a lot of, Adam Newman, who obviously had a bit of a god complex with the surfer boy hair. He's always kind of doing something on camera. But all of these interviews that he does, and people are asking him about what the company does, and he just says something like, "Oh, we build a in-person social network, and we build community and all this stuff." And I think even at they would ask him, is his company profitable? And he would just talk for 10 minutes. I mean, I took a couple accounting classes in college. What he said made no sense. So I feel like all of these reporters that are prominent enough to be on TV interviewing a CEO, someone needs to reevaluate how well they were doing their jobs, because how are you letting someone get away with not answering a question like that? Nobody ever pressed him, what does your company do?
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
It kind of reminds me of that. Was it Theranos? The whole technology is that's not physically possible what you're trying to do. Get how many tests out of one drop of blood?
Exactly. But once you've seen The Inventor, it's okay, it's not the same level of fraudulent activity that was. And that's not the same level of cult-like activity as obviously Scientology is. So it's
a blend.
It's kind of a blend of those two things. And It's interesting, and yeah, no one ever pushes that guy to like explain.
He's cute and he's on TV and he's a CEO. Like, why give him a hard time?
Yeah, like what are you fucking talking about? Like, this is just gibberish. I don't understand like what you're getting at when you explain these things. Is talking around gibberish, like it's like fucking what's the word for it? Gobbledygook, right? Like just when you say a lot but don't actually say anything, and it's like
Gish Gallop.
No,
But not like not in like a debate thing. Just vomit a whole bunch of stuff.
Well, no, at least a Gish Gallop would be you're positing questions of substance, but they're just, if anything, a Gish Gallop is the inverse of it, because a Gish Gallop is like asking somebody a question that asking somebody a series of questions that are all in themselves very complicated to answer, and knowing that they won't have time to respond to even one of them well. So it's kind of in the same vein, but it's just like inverted. It's like just say a whole bunch of nothing in hopes that you can just fucking eat up whatever time you have in an interview. It's annoying. Yeah, that guy was just like fucking weird.
No, I want to check that out.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anything else?
What else did we watch? We watched something else too, didn't we? Some other movie.
Unforgiven, was that?
I think we podcasted since that.
Oh, I think we talked about it like at the pool hall, but never.
Oh yeah,
on
maybe
the podcast.
Yeah, she had never seen it. Go ahead and what's your evaluation of this movie? It better be good.
Fucking stunk.
Stinker.
No, it was a really good movie, but I wasn't prepared for how intense it was. I don't know why. I mean, it's Clint Eastwood, it's a Western, but it was like, oh, okay, this is happening now. I don't know. I wasn't in the right state of mind for it. I wasn't prepared for how brutal it is. So I feel like I would enjoy it more the second time around.
Okay.
Because I know what's going to happen. I can focus on the movie more rather than just being shocked by the violence.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of movies where I'm not in the mood to watch something pretty heavy. And you just kind of get bummed out. Like, I don't think I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, it opens with someone like viciously assaulting a prostitute, and I was just like, "Oh, this is what we're doing tonight." Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but I liked it. It was, I don't know, an interesting commentary on justice or the lack thereof, and trying to execute justice and not really ever getting it because it's messy and horrible and depressing. So that was fun.
Real uplifter there, David.
Yeah.
Hey,
Date night.
I never said it was uplifting. See, here's the problem is I would argue that when it comes to uplifting movies, the ones that are uplifting that I like are much more... It's much more difficult to do that because when you're doing something that's uplifting, it's so easy to go too far and have it just be like this saccharine, obnoxious, cheesy shit. And you can go too far on the depressing side, right? Like you were saying, the zookeeper's wife or whatever. It's just just beat you over the head with like every fucking depressing thing that ever could possibly happen to a person. And so
I thought that was a comedy. No? Oh, okay.
I think you're thinking of We Built a Zoo.
Okay.
No, it's a World War II movie. My mom was like, "Let's go to the movies." This was like 2 or 3 years ago, and she picked it, and I had to sit through it, and she thought it was good, but it's based on this true story of these people that ran a zoo, I think in Poland, and then they started using the zoo and like all of these kind of underground chambers that had been for the animals to like hide Jews.
Okay.
So the story itself is interesting. And it just beats you over the head. It like pulls at your heartstrings. It's like, here's a child dying, and then the Nazis raped the orphan girl, and then after that, it's like ashes falling, and then people's tears are falling down their faces, and there's music playing. It's like, oh my god! Every 10 minutes, it's like cry, damn it! And I don't know. I hate that. It feels really manipulative.
Oh yeah,
it's really easy to go. But it's much harder to go that too far in that direction, I guess is what I'm saying. When something is trying to be uplifting, I think it requires more of a delicate touch. And I think part of the reason that the movies that I do, like this is part of the reason I love Cinema Paradiso so much, because it is like a powerfully emotional movie and very uplifting. And it's just like super, super well done. And it's like, man, like fucking so few movies can like, normally if something is of substance, it's, got some teeth to it, in which case it's probably not exactly like,
Disney-esque.
yeah, cotton candy of films. And so I'm not suggesting that movies all need to like challenge you in some way, like emotionally, but I mean, Goodfellas doesn't do that, and that's arguably like
Sometimes you just want to watch Air Bud.
Yeah, sometimes you just need to watch Air Bud, Wait, Air Bud or Air Bud 2 Golden Receiver?
Either way, I could go either way, man.
Okay.
I feel like I'm at a tennis match. And like...
So what else? Got anything?
Other than that, hanging out with you, playing pool, playing D&D, working.
Same old, same old.
Yeah, I feel like I had some sort of
I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast, but when we play pool on Fridays, we end up having a cigar over at Ohlone Cigars.
I don't think we talked about it because it was only been the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and it's pretty interesting. It just seems wide open. It seems like the pandemic never happened. Mm-hmm. And people are just walking around with no mask, just spitting in each other's faces. And it's like, okay, I don't want to.
It's because fucking Leon, he's just like
the inmates run the house.
He's just like ushers. Like he's just got like all this amped up energy. He just like riles them. It's like someone riles your dog up. Like, who's a good boy? All right, yeah, okay, all right, yeah, who's good? And then he's just like, all right, see you later. It's like, yeah, that's why everyone likes when Leon works, because he's very popular.
Oh yeah, it's like, hey, when's Leon working?
Yeah.
I'll be back when he's working.
All right, okay, yeah. Well, this guy's a wet blanket here. Fucking gotta deal with this shit.
It's already, you told me that it gets crazy.
On Fridays.
On Friday nights, but, it's already pretty open when he's there. I was hanging out there today and I don't wear a mask. There's an invisible line where if you're in when you first go in the shop, like you have to wear a mask and then you pass through the magic threshold to the back lounge.
Coronavirus stop.
Exactly. And I kind of go back and forth because I'll be like sitting down writing and I'll go say hi to David and I'm not wearing a mask and I keep waiting for someone to say something and they never do.
No, but I don't think you understand like how when on Fridays, so Leon will just let people remove all the cones from the chairs and move the chairs. So there'll be like 4 people at that table that you're sitting at and like 2 or 3 people at the back table where there's 1 chair. And then people will like get other chairs and there'll be like 3 or 4 people standing up front smoking, talking without masks. Like, and
so
then
it's a party.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a crazy party. I'm like, okay. I wasn't used to that.
It's not normally that like everybody's just all hopped up on goofballs and shit. They're all excitable, like,
Yeah, that's weird.
And so, I thought a guy was going to give me the business today because he came in and I was like, oh, you got to have a mask on if you're in here, man. He's like, let me ask you a question. I'm like, okay. I was in here last night. I'm like, that's not a question. He was like, no mask. I'm like, I'm waiting for the question. Why do I have to wear a mask today?
Because I'm working.
And I was just like, because those are the rules? And I was like, were you in the back? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, you don't have to wear a mask back there. You have to wear a mask up here when you're shopping. And then he was just like, oh, okay, that makes total sense.
Does it? It doesn't make any sense at all.
Agreed.
No, it's magic. The threshold has special powers.
If you tell coronavirus not to pass this line, it's not going to pass that line.
I don't think that
it's illegal.
I don't think he meant it makes sense from a physiological standpoint, but like now he understood the rule.
Okay.
So it's like,
well, that's what counts.
Yeah, it's like you can wear your shoes in the kitchen, but you can't wear your shoes in the living room.
What?
Why? Well, what's the goal of the shoes? Having them off. Well, so you don't track dirt in. But I'm still tracking dirt into the kitchen. Yeah, but the rule is just no shoes in the kitchen. Oh, okay, that makes sense. I'm clear on the rules now, I think is what he meant to say. But like I did have a guy, I told you this, I think I told you this the other day, a guy fucking flipped out on me and Jeb on Wednesday night. Did I tell you this already? I told you.
Told me.
I told
Who you talking to?
You. Mike.
Oh, me. Yes, he did tell me.
Oh, okay.
Tell our lovely listeners.
Oh, yeah. So, this guy comes in. It was a similar situation. He came in. He wasn't wearing a mask. And Jeb was like, hey, you gotta have a mask on if you're in here. It was right at the shift change, right? So Jeb was getting ready to leave, and I was getting ready to come on shift. And this guy just gets, like, all fucking hot in the collar. like all blah, blah, blah. I couldn't hear what he was saying. He was like blustering at Jeb. I was in the back, and I came out front, and he like wasn't wearing a mask, and like Jeb was getting ready to leave, and so he left, and the guy came up and like throws down a cigar on the counter, and I'm like, yeah, no mask, no service, man. This is how it works here. And he's just like, well, you know, like, you have to give me one. I'm like, I don't have to do that. He's like, well, if you're going to require me to wear, I'm like, I'm not requiring you to do anything. It's rules of the shop, and because of the state's rules, that's where we're at. And he says like, I don't wear a fucking mask because I'm not like a pussy. And I was like, all right, man, that's all for you, right? And Jeb forgot his keys and came back in, and he was like, well, you gotta give me a mask. So Jeb goes and gets him a mask, right? And hands him the mask, and he like puts it on all like in a huff. He's like, there, I got it on now. Like, he's like, so now you can fucking get off your high horse and like sell me this cigar. And I was like, nope. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, you told me to put the mask on, and I'm like, I refused to serve you. I have that right. I don't have to provide you service for anything. And then he kind of like looks behind me at Jeb, and I just like moved away from the register, like, hey, like if you want to ring him up, like you go ahead. And Jeb was just kind of like, yeah, I kind of agree with him, man. You've been like an asshole ever since you fucking walked in here, like just barking at me and shit. He was like, blah, blah. He's like, you fucking, and he like, and then like, for Jeb says this to him, and then for some reason he looks over at me, and he's like, fucking talking all that shit. Like, I bet you won't talk that shit like out in the street. And I was like, all right, man, just have a good day. Like, have a good day, right? Like, see you later. And he goes outside. He's like hovering outside, like I'm gonna come, like one of us is gonna come out and fight him or something. Like, all right, yeah, I see, bully. Like, yeah, what am I gonna do? He's like, hang on, hold my cigar. I'm gonna go out and like fuck this dude up.
Roll up your sleeves. All right, you're going down, buddy.
Yeah, I don't want to spend half my shift fucking explaining to the police why I beat up some derelict. No thanks.
My work is not that fun.
Yeah, well, that's why. Because you know you work at home, so.
Fight with a cat. Fuck you, cat.
Yeah, pretty much.
No. Oh, by the way, so cat-related shit.
Okay.
Cat news. So cat news. And cat news. So my cat's teeth like kind of were looking like they were all fucked up. I might have told you this.
Yeah.
So I decided I'm gonna get him some kitty treats that are supposed to clean his teeth. And then apparently I asked my uncle. He's like a cat guru, right? So,
cat whisperer.
Yeah, fucking cat whisperer.
That sounds sexier than it is. Yeah.
But he was like, "Oh, get him like that wheatgrass shit." Cats all love fucking wheatgrass. They go ape shit.
It's like,
right?
have you met my cat?
I was like, I don't know, my cat's broken, dude. He doesn't have cat genes. And sure enough, he doesn't really fucking seem to like the wheatgrass. I spent $30 on this fucking like, because I can only get a 3-pack of them. They're $10 a piece. And
is it a live?
Yeah, it's like a plant.
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Well, at least you can just have it out there, make it look cool.
Yeah.
it just kind of sits in the window. But yeah, he doesn't like it. He's like, yeah, whatever. But he loves the treats. It goes with like fucking crack now. He's like an addict. Every time I get up or every time I come home, he's like, because it says you're supposed to give him 8 treats twice a day.
Oh.
I was like, damn, that's a lot. So I'm like looking at him, like, what the fuck is in these things? Like, because one of two
Rocks.
things. One of two things
Bugs.
should be true. One, how many you're supposed to give him is accurate, or he really likes them.
Yeah.
Like, if this is good for him, he shouldn't behave like they're crack, right? He shouldn't be reacting that way, like all excited. And then I was like looking at him, because like you're not supposed to give cats a lot of regular treats, because what happens is it crystallizes their piss. And cats already don't drink enough water because they don't, evolutionarily, they don't need water, because normally they would be eating like
Drinking
meat.
their blood from the victims.
Exactly, precisely. They'd be eating meat from a fucking animal, and they get moisture that way, so they don't have like this evolutionary tick to drink water, and they'll just die from like not drinking enough water.
Why am I so thirsty?
Exactly. And so I was like, man, why? I was like, okay, so I don't want this to like crystallize his pee or whatever and be unhealthy for him. So I was looking at it like, no, and then I thought about it. I'm like, you know what it is he's probably just, I don't really give him treats hardly at all. I've had the same can of treats. It's like this big. I've had it for like the whole time we've been dating, basically, right? Like 3 or 4 years. And give him like a couple of them like once every couple of weeks or some shit. And, but I was like, he probably just prefers it to his food. his food being the same food for like 10 years or whatever. So he's probably just like something other than this shit.
This is so mean.
And so, like, because I don't really give him wet cat food that much. I mean, I give him wet cat food to just...
I go to the dollar
hydrate.
store. It has a cat on the box. It should work.
No, I buy him halfway decent food.
Uh-huh.
Like, nothing super fan. I'm not one of those people that spends, like, $60 a bag on their fucking cat food or whatever. But, you know, I get the big bag. It's like $30 or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like halfway decent cat food. And I give him wet cat food every now and again so that he like gets some moisture in his diet. But he's not spoiled. I don't buy him like $60 for like a 1 pound bag. Like have you ever been to like Pet Supply or whatever?
Yeah, the stuff that comes in the fridge. I'm like, why would it's more
it's
expensive than human food?
My parents are like that. They
really?
have a husky,
Uh-huh.
and I mean, a husky's a real dog. It's not like one of those yippy little dogs like a poodle or a chihuahua or something adorable, right?
Yeah.
It's like close to a wolf.
Mm-hmm.
And they just feed it a lot of like all organic, like super fancy dog food, and then they feed it a lot of human food.
Oh.
And it's like a picky dog. Like it likes grapes and weird like stuff that's like
weird.
human food. Like it likes steak and shit.
Well, yeah,
And-
all
yeah.
dog like steak.
Yeah.
But
No, but like they'll feed it regular, like I don't know, like walnuts and grapes and like human food, and then like super fancy organic, and it only likes certain brands of like
Wow.
super fancy dog
That's pretty
food.
crazy.
Yeah, leave it to my parents to spoil a husky. That's
yeah. Well, speaking of which, yeah, her brother came into town last week. We didn't podcast, but yeah, he was in town for a few days doing his whole angsty teen drama thing.
that's always fun.
Yeah, that was
I hate this place.
that was. No, but he is not this place, but he's all just like, everything is bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
He's
Okay.
very angsty. It's like, I don't know about dating. Who wants to go out with me? I can't figure it out. No one will love me.
One of those
I'm
things
sorry.
is true.
I should be better as
Well,
a
he's-
sister, but it's just really funny sometimes.
Like, shut up! I'm doing stuff.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
Like
that
I'll
is-
be really good about it for the first 4 to 6 hours when he's there, and then I kind of devolve into just shut up.
I know, it's almost like a test case for if we had a kid. Because it's like, he comes over,
I don't
and,
do well.
and she's on him, and I'm like, leave him alone. Like, just fucking stop picking at him. And she's like, "Ah, fucking annoying little shit. You know, just like yells. It like, because
I don't yell at him.
No, you don't yell at him. Snap at him. You snap at him.
Sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just like, well, the problem that
And
comes.
he likes you more than me, which is what would happen if we had kids too. So
I doubt that, but
no, because you're fun.
I'm not fun.
You're funner than I am.
Well, I don't think that's true. Not in some ways.
No, I do all the work. I hang out with my brother all day. I listen to his bullshit, and then David comes home at night.
Oh,
and
hey, buddy.
He's the fun one,
Yeah.
so that's who he likes more.
No, it's not. If I were there with him all day, he would just whine at me about that shit, and then he just doesn't talk to me about the same stuff that he talks to you about because he's afraid of me.
And possibly has a crush on you.
Yeah, probably a little bit of both, but
You did see your dick.
he might have seen my dick. Which that's
A ringing endorsement
that's
right
a
there.
proper response to seeing my dick is to have a crush
Oh,
on me.
hey, David. How's it hanging?
What's up with that hammer?
God.
But no, it's like, no, and the thing is I realized that our brother was right, because he was right about something. So, he gets all anxious when he's over, because he is not forthright about things. If he talks about what's going on with his life, he either is in a position to lie so that we don't get all judgy on him, or he tells the truth and then he has to sit through like a 45-minute lecture about why he's a dumpster fire of a human being. And there's no middle ground because you can't,
Lose-lose situation.
because you can't talk about your life in any way that's meaningful without talking about the things that are important to you or the things that are on your mind. And when he does that, we're basically just telling him why that's just all wrong constantly.
That's true, yeah.
So he's just like, I just feel criticized. Like anytime he tries to make like small talk about stuff, it's like just turns into this whole like, oh man. It's part of the reason it's so exhausting having him over. It's just this constant tug of war of talking to him in some way without trying to like lecture him. But yeah, he's super sensitive, so we're not really lecturing him or criticizing him. We're just trying to give him some sort of insight. And if someone comes to you and they say, hey man, I got a problem. Hey Mike, I got this problem at work. And you might think that I might want some insight into like how to not have that problem. But apparently he doesn't want that. Like, so we're trying to tell him like, here's why what you're doing is not going to get you what you want.
Oh, he just wants a shoulder to cry on.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. And anybody who knows me for longer than 25 seconds should know that that's not, you're barking up the wrong fucking tree there, pal.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is he's always going on about how he wants to lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, when someone is always telling you, like, oh man, I have this thing I'm trying to do, and then you watch him, I mean, it's just very
you guys
hard.
have extra pizza in here?
Yeah, I mean, he eats, like, it's hard to watch him eat. It's like an Animal Channel kind of thing, where it's like a lion ripping into a gazelle or something.
Huh.
Like, I'll turn around and all this food will be gone. He ordered takeout, and he ordered this like family-sized dessert that I thought he was going to share with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like putting some stuff away around the house or whatever. I turn around, it was gone.
Oh.
So
It's not an exaggeration. Literally, if you turn around, he will be, like, if you think Chris Davis eats fast, like this kid like beat him
eats really fast
by like a couple of legs in an eating race.
Okay, that's crazy.
Like he ate a hot dog, and I'm pretty sure it was under a minute.
Kobayashi.
Yeah, he's fucking just. I mean, well, he is gay, so maybe there's something to that.
Right, but I mean, it's annoying because he's like, oh man, I really want to lose weight. You know, when I get to my ideal weight, blah blah blah. And then he'll be like, dude, you just inhaled 5,000 calories just now.
No.
That's not helpful if that's your goal. And it's hard to say that without sounding like you're preaching, like you're criticizing or whatever, but then he gets really defensive.
Because he just like the things you observe that he does are disparate to what his stated goals are. It's like, well, I was telling you, he was when he came over to our house, and he was there a day and a half, and he drank like almost 2 gallons of milk to himself in like a day and a half.
That's pretty crazy.
And I like did the math, dude. I'm like, do you realize that you just consumed like 2,400 calories of milk in the last day? And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, do you have any idea how many calories are in milk? And we drink whole milk, so it's like a lot of calories. Because as it turns out, like I use it for lattes and like on cereal, I don't drink it by the bucket, right? So it's not an issue for me because I don't drink buckets of milk. And he's like, oh my God, what do you mean? And he's just like, yeah. And like, he'll just innocuously, like, and it's awkward too, because he'll be like, how do you stay so trim? How do you get your arms to look like that? And I'm like, I'm not a slob of a human being. I don't know what to tell you. Don't be what you are. Be something different, and you won't look
whatever
like
you're doing right now.
Stop
Just
all
stop.
of it.
Don't do that.
Yeah, quit that shit. But even then, I'll try to temper it by being like, dude, you're not going to look like me. I don't know, like you...
Unless you, like, lose a couple inches.
I'm like, you're just not going to do that. Like, and if you want to be in shape, that's a different goal. I used you as an example. Like, my buddy Mike is, I'm certain, in way better shape than I am. Orders of magnitude better shape than I am. But he doesn't look like me. Plenty of people I know don't look like me are way better shape than I am. But, so, is your goal to, like, get in better shape? You could be in better shape than you are now. You look like a fucking beanbag chair full of broken hammers and Crisco. And so, like, like you could be in better shape, but you're not going to look like me, you know? Like, if that's your goal, a fucking washboard abs, like, let's just fucking give it up, you know? The ship has sailed. It's so, oh, God, whatever, it's going to get lectured.
So it's hard to talk to him.
Anyway, yeah, that's the
Kind
thesis
of
of
a trip.
it.
But it was really funny when my parents came to pick him up. It was the first time they'd seen the new apartment.
Okay.
And my parents tend to overstay their welcome, shall we say. They came to just grab him, and they'd been there for like 40 minutes. And the funny thing is, they haven't spent a lot of time with David in the last 4.5 years that we've been, you know, dating. They haven't like made an effort to try to get to know him in the least.
It's understandable, though.
It is.
No, I get it.
But they're kind of afraid of him in this weird way. Like, I don't know what they're afraid of. Like, I can't fathom it. Like, are they afraid that if they just get too close to him, he'll be like, let me
He'll
tell
lash
you.
out on you.
Yeah, or like say something like, let me tell you about your daughter in bed or whatever. Like, what do you think is going to happen? But they were just kind of hanging out, and then David like opened the door and came home from work, and they just all just jumped up like, oh, we gotta go. And my mom walks up to him and tries to be pleasant and make small talk, and she goes, nice new place, David. And he just totally straight face goes, I didn't build it. And she just kind of squeaked.
You can't just say thank you. Is that like, that sounds like a fine response.
She didn't even say words to that. She just kind of like squeaked and floated off, like made her way out the door. It was pretty funny.
No, I could say things, but I want to de-incentivize this behavior. It's so fucking cringy every time it happens. It's like, don't. Like, because I did that before, like, where I tried to just be pleasant to them on a couple of occasions. And
No,
that,
you did. You get credit.
And that just seemed to encourage them to...
Talking to you?
The longer I talk to them, the more it's just like... So, like, being pleasant to somebody is like a muscle that you can flex, because it's... If you don't know them that well, you're just being kind of phony, right? And that's fine. That's what we all do to people. But if someone like insists on like continuing the interaction past a certain point, and they're just not very pleasant people to you, then it becomes work, right? This is what happened. Like, I just was pleasant for like a half an hour to her mother one day. And it was like, she's like, you know what you ought to do is you got to do this, and here's what you got to do. Like, you need to take this medicine, and like, just like getting all up in my business. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's enough of that, right? Like, just, nope. Stop. Because she'll just the kind of person that the second she's halfway comfortable with you, which apparently doesn't take very long, she just immediately starts telling you how to live. And that's just like my hugest pet peeve is when people just like get it. My own mother does it to me, and I'm like, Mom, leave me alone. Right? I love my mother. I love her to bits, but like, I don't know this other lady that much at all. And from what I can tell, she's not too great to be around. And so I just try to, at any opportunity I have to de-incentivize her to like talk to me in any way. It's like I take it. It's like, leave me.
Build it.
Leave me be.
It made me laugh like intermittently for a week. I'd just be sitting there and start laughing to myself. It was so good.
No, I mean, I can get on with them okay. But the thing is, it's like I have to either... We can't have real discourse. We can't have a real conversation. I can be like a dancing monkey for all of them and like entertain them by being a dancing monkey. But that's just as much, it's just as exhausting. Like, it's like, I don't really want to do that, right? I can't relate to, her dad doesn't really seem to notice. He just kind of keeps his head down and stays away from me. But the mom seems to really have like this, like, oh, let's just try to be nice for whatever reason. It's like, yeah, just stop it. You don't need to talk to me for any reason. I don't know why.
Well, they're a guest in someone's home. They kind of have to be nice.
No, she didn't have to say anything. She could have said nothing to me. I mean, I'm not saying like it was an affront to me that she complimented the apartment.
Gross. What did you say to me?
It's just like,
You're trying to be friends with me? How dare you?
It was just my way of just saying, like, you don't need to do that, you know? Like, just because I'm here doesn't mean you need to, like, whatever.
They're already so scared of you.
Yeah. And
they heard the key in the lock, and they all just jumped up.
I've never done anything. That's what's hilarious. I've never, like, that thing there was like me being flippant, but generally speaking, I don't do that much. I just don't interact with
What
them.
are these people doing in my home?
Yeah, I'm not like that.
Beat it. There's a door.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Man, fuck you.
Just bust open the door. Who the fuck are these people? Take this kid out of here.
I don't think I've ever said anything that could be construed as rude to either of them.
Other than that, maybe.
Yeah, that's pretty rude.
That was, yeah.
It's only rude because of how she took it.
What?
She just deflated like a balloon.
It's trying to be nice.
She could have just laughed and been like, that's a good point. And I probably would have just laughed too. Like, yeah, fucking being cheeky. Because I was being cheeky more than I was trying to be rude. I was just like, whatever. I didn't make it. Like, I just live here, right? Like,
I just live here.
that's a nice horse you're riding. It's just a horse.
didn't make it.
It's just a horse I'm on.
The thing is, my dad is more afraid of him than my mom is. My dad just like avoids him at all costs. Like he won't come up to the apartment if he knows David's home.
Oh wow.
And I
No,
don't
he did
understand.
this time.
He did this time, but because initially you weren't home.
No. When he came to get your brother, he came up. And he knew I was home, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and he wouldn't even sit down. Like he was putting his shoes back on, standing up against the wall. I'm like, Dad, you can have a seat on the couch, put your shoes on. He just wouldn't.
Oh, wow.
He just wouldn't get near David. I'm like, why? What
Did
have you
you
done
get
to
all the
that?
shots?
What have
Because
you
I
done to that?
de-incentivize this behavior. The thing is, though, is like when they're there and you're like, they just hang out for like an hour. It's like, okay, well, but they don't do that when I'm there. Like, they
I
leave.
don't know. Maybe
Just
now
poke your
I'm
head around like,
thinking
what are you doing?
back. Like maybe the first time I introduced you to my parents, I went to use the restroom for like 10 minutes or 5 minutes, and then you were just you said something.
Don't you ever talk to me?
Don't
When I
you-
look at you, you look away.
When you sit down when you pee in my house. I don't
You gotta
want
hold this pocket.
I don't
Who's my
wanna-
bitch?
Nope, never happened. Nothing like that ever happened. They were
If you
just
say so, man.
David brought out a gun when you went out to the bathroom, and I didn't know what to do. I'm scared.
he started pistol whipping your mom. I didn't know what happened. No, it's just that they're just so much artifice that they don't know how to deal. Like I've tried to just be like, interact with me like a person. And we've had a couple of instances where I interacted with them like people, and it seems like now they're afraid of me because of that. Like when we went to your, I think it was your birthday, we went to Maggiano's or something, or maybe it was just an afternoon for lunch.
I think it was just lunch, yeah.
And we seemed to interact like people.
Yeah,
For-
that was the thing that happened.
But then it just seemed like shortly after that, they just kind of got like really afraid of me. Like they didn't want to talk to me anymore. And it's like, I get that. That's
Yeah,
fine.
to be fair, that is a response to you.
Yeah, well, okay. All of the responses that I get are responses to me, so it's not an unreasoned response. I agree with that, but they don't. It doesn't have to be that way if they don't want it to be that way. But if they just don't like me, then why do they want to interact with me anyway?
I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. It's a perfectly valid question, right? Like if if I was authentic to them and then they were like, oh, we don't like this guy, right? So then they could just be, I don't want to interact with him. It'd be fine. They don't have to be afraid of me or like dreading interacting with me. It's not that they don't want to, yeah, I don't know.
I don't think you are what they thought I would bring home.
To be fair, you never really brought me home. You brought them to our house after
That's
you
true.
moved in with me.
That's true. Yeah.
So,
I
yeah.
thought it was best.
Yeah, it was probably best. But, I'm not, this is not uncommon. I'm never what any parent thinks that their daughter is going to bring home. Almost unilaterally. This is the problem that I have with all relationships. But anyway.
So that was the thing that happened.
That was a thing that happened. What about you? What's new with you this week, last couple weeks?
I got a lot of free time now.
Yeah? Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I just worked my last shift at West Coast last Saturday. And, yeah, it's kind of nice having a lot of free time. Not like a worker bee. Like waking up, go to work, go to sleep. And repeating it.
And what have you been filling your time? I mean, you've been playing pool more, so that's cool. Played pool a couple times.
Yeah, watched a lot of stuff. Read a lot of stuff. Everything kind of like rolled into each other. Watched the Netflix. Was it Netflix? Yeah, Netflix series. No, wait, documentary. Made You Look. A story about fake art. True story about fake art. It's basically how this. Sorry, my glasses are fogging up. Was it an auction house or a art dealership? How they got scammed with all these fake works of modern art. I think the scam was going for about like 15, 20 years. And it's all like Jackson Pollock stuff, Rothko. It's just
Kind
like,
of love that.
yeah, it's just like, it just shows you that it's just bullshit. Modern art is
Yeah.
just bullshit. You just like have a story to it, and people are like, oh yeah, it's amazing. I can't believe it's beautiful. It's like it's just a bunch of blobs on a canvas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really, if you can't tell the difference,
Yeah.
then what is the difference?
Yeah.
Like
When it comes to the point where you have to have like forensic science stuff to figure out if it's real, I think you have a problem. You can't look at the techniques of the brushwork and all that stuff like classic artwork, right? You can kind of tell the difference between like a fake and a real piece of art.
Right.
Right.
And between one artist and another,
Yeah.
how they did things.
Yeah, when you look at a Pollock, it's just like, I kind of just got a spoon and like fed it on the ground. Like, how would you know?
How would you use forensic science? Like they just test the age of the paint and stuff?
The age of the paint, the canvas, it was the nails they would use on the canvas.
Oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, like, the people that were faking the artwork did their homework to a certain degree, but it's like, if it's that easy, why is it worth that much?
Because it's, why do people care if something is like a first edition of a book?
Yeah, because it's just kind of a flex. Like, oh, I have this new art piece that no one never found out about. It's an earlier work. Sorry, you don't know about it.
It's deep cuts, bro.
Yeah, deep cuts about art. I don't know.
But to me, it's probably just the same thing as, like I said, a first edition of a book or the first pressing of a record. It's like, it's really not about how the book reads or how the record sounds. It's just about the culture around it. Their culture just happens to be stupid. So,
yeah, and then the whole time I didn't feel bad at all for all the people that bought this fake art. They're already millionaires, billionaires, and they just got scammed.
See, that's the thing, though. That's what's funny about it is it quite literally is fake art because it's like art is something that has cultural merit and significance. But if it's not actually Jackson Pollock that did that hunk of shit, then it's not art. It's just garbage, right? It's just fucking total garbage.
Guy.
But if somebody could write in the style of, say, like Gabriel Marquez and pretend that it was some Gabriel Marquez novel that, like, no one had ever read.
But the novel would be good.
But the novel would be good because he would have to have, like, equal writing prowess and actually maybe even be more difficult because you'd have to, like, replicate and, like, someone's voice and, like, tenor of their writing. And so you would have to be a good writer to do that. Like, you wouldn't have to be, like, if you were going to be like, oh, this is a never before released Biggie album. Well, you'd still have to be able to produce beats and sing like Biggie in order to fucking, like, have that be a thing.
Yeah.
So you'd have to have some modicum of talent. But with this stuff, it's just like, oh, it's either Jackson Pollock and it's art, or Mark Rothko and it's art,
or you tripped over a can of paint.
Or it's garbage.
Yeah.
It's like, so to me, those artists are garbage in general. They're not artists. They're just idiots.
Yeah. So that kind of led me on to another, because there was a author that was on there. And she wrote a book called The Confidence Game. And it's just like the history and the psychology behind like con artists and their victims. And yeah, that's a pretty interesting read. I'm in the middle of it right now. So like some of the historical things of people getting scammed, like someone selling the Eiffel Tower like 5 times or...
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. There's some great ones. Just like basic cons, like the psychology of like the Nigerian prince scam, and a lot of the grandma scams that you see now with the Facebook stuff, and how like you probably been scammed before and you just didn't know it. People are just that good.
Well, I mean, usually scam is for financial gain. How would you not notice that you're...
Well, like the being conned out of your money. Like someone makes up a story that they're stranded, they need some extra cash to get to where they need to go. You give them a couple bucks.
Oh yeah,
that's a scam.
Right,
yeah.
But in those situations, I know what you're talking about, but I just kind of assume that it is. But you basically pay $2 for that person to leave you alone and stop talking to you.
I think I told you this before. I paid a guy $20 to fucking leave me alone one time because it was snowing so bad.
Yeah, so I need to get out of here.
And yeah, he had this whole story, and I was just like, all right, man, one of two things is true. Like, he didn't seem like a disheveled derelict. He seemed like a normal dude, and he had this whole story that was all, like, well thought out and everything. And I was like, all right, here's one of two things that's happening. Either...
Trying to have a white boy summer here.
Here you go.
You want this one or?
I don't know what flavor. Oh, I'll have the grapefruit.
Okay, cool.
Cheers to you and your White Claws.
Cheers
Thank
to
you.
white boy summer.
Cheers. I don't know what that means.
I don't
know
know either.
exactly what I'm cheersing to.
Trying to have a white boy summer. Go on.
Oh, I forgot what I was saying. What was I saying?
I don't know. I was thirsty from some claws.
I don't remember.
You're talking about the guy in the snow that you give
Oh, yeah,
$20
that's right.
to.
Oh, yeah. And he was just like, I was like, okay, here's the thing, man. One of two things is true. Either the story is true, in which case you need the money, or the story is not true and you're working it pretty hard. And from what I could tell, either way, you're earning the money, and I don't really have any time to give a fuck about this. And he's like, well, let me get it back to you. Like, how do I get it back to you? And I'm like, I don't care, dude. Get away from me. He said, here's the money. Leave me alone. I got in the car, and my ex was like, did you just give that guy $20? I was like, fuck, it's like raining or snowing cats and dogs, right? Like, it's fucking, I don't have time for that shit. You know, I was trying to sift out, like, have some Q&A, like, question, try to cross-reference, interrogate him to figure out if he's telling the truth. What do I care?
Yeah.
Like, just give me some money, like, or don't, you know, like, I won't give you the money so I don't have to explain to you why I don't want to give you the money.
Yeah.
So
this book is like a history of great cons, or?
It's more of like the psychology of, between like the con artist or the confidence man and the victim. And it seems like the biggest tie-in is either you're incredibly rich or you're incredibly smart. Those are the easiest people to con.
Smart people are easy to con.
Yeah, because their ego gets in their ways. Like they go through a couple steps to verify if the story is true, and then once that hook's in, it's hard to get someone out of that hook because they're just like, I'm too smart for this. I can't be fooled.
why did Bernie Madoff like scam all sorts of people?
Yeah,
that
how are
were
you going to get
supposedly...
a 15-20% return on your investment? That's unheard of.
You know, that's kind of funny. It ties into the WeWork documentary.
Oh, yeah.
With how the CEO, Adam Newman, was selling all of these employees on the fact that they're literally changing the world and that their work is so meaningful.
Renting out a place?
I know. And one of the guys, I guess he was a lawyer for the company, he's talking about being at one of these conferences and how this black older usher was asking him about the company, you know, and what they're doing.
The lawyer's black too.
Does that matter?
Well, because part of the reason, you get the impression that the reason that the black usher talked to him is there's like a sea of like young affluent white people, and then he sees another dude like him, and he's like, hey brother, let me ask you a question, right? Like, maybe you got some insights into this. It is important that they're both black.
Oh, okay.
Because the reason he talked to him, or at least that was the implication I got.
Right, but like this older usher is like, hey, let me ask you a question. Is this some sort of cult?
Oh, okay.
And that's kind of, I don't know, that's kind of funny, is that the really educated, like college, pedigreed, whatever, you know, kind of young, idealistic people are all falling for this, but it's really kind of the grizzled working class man that's like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
It's the prohibition. That's why you establish, like in my family, this is like you just abide by some axioms in life that serve well for previous generations. And if I would argue that if there's such a thing as like a culture of like legacy things, right? Like it's that thinking without thinking book, or the, you know, we all are beneficiaries of certain things that previous generations have learned, and some of that is detrimental to us, right? We call it tradition, and some of it's religious dogma, and some of it's like nonsensical folk wisdom that really doesn't add up. Some of it's superstition, some of it's a bunch of stuff. But there are some things that, like in my family in particular, it's just these hard and fast axioms that like your parents bring you up on, and you inherit them, and then you just you try them out and you go like, okay, this I don't do those things, right? Like I don't do these things for, you know, you have some reasons, but rather than try to like get in a situation where you're too smart for your own good. And then I can tell you on more than one occasion, man, like I'm generally speaking smarter than most people in my family. Like in an educated kind of critical thinking sense of the word.
I'm glad I got the brightest one of the bunch.
But that when I talk to my dad, like man, you know, I'll tell you, you're fucking right about some things, dude. Like things that I've learned from him, things that I picked up on, and I can just hear it reflected, like, oh, that's where I get that, right? Like my dad was talking about he's getting his shit together, you know, and I was talking to him on the phone the other day, and we were just talking about the nature of, he's on probation now because he had some run-ins with the law, and there's no probation, and like he's not supposed to be doing like X, Y, or Z.
No matter how bad you get, don't punch that cop.
That's a good one.
He did threaten a cop.
Oh, okay.
And my dad has a severe drinking problem, but he's sober now. And so now he's sober, you know, and he's got his own apartment and like a job and everything. And he's doing pretty well at the job too. And that's one of the biggest tragedies of my dad is that like my dad has never had a job where he wasn't like thoroughly competent for. And he's just been like constantly has problem. It's certainly, if you might imagine, my dad is a more pronounced version of me. So if people keep hiring him, it's not because he has some fucking cheery disposition that people love so much. It's because he's a fucking animal when it comes to working. And so any job he's ever had, everybody just loves him, right? Like, you know, people get along with him. They kind of get his particular brand of weird. And he was like, man, you know, fucking this judge, man, trying to tell me I can't smoke weed. It's fucking PO and shit. Like I'm supposed to check in with this counselor. It was all just a big fucking circle jerk, man. He's just going off about how it just like don't make any sense. He's like, it's the thing, man. It's like you're trying to tell me I can't smoke weed, and the other judge, I had the dude judge, and the dude judge said I could smoke all the weed I want, but just don't drink because I got in trouble for drunk driving. Which, you know, that makes fucking sense. But why can't I be smoking weed? I got nothing else. And he's like, here's the thing, man. Is like I get the lady judge, and the lady judge like sees that I got like my dad got arrested for dealing dope like 30 some years ago, right? And she's like, well, you have a history, and like she's getting all up in his business, and he's like, and the thing is, man, I don't even think they fucking care. It's all just a big scam. They just want me to pay the money and suck the fucking court's dick, right? That's all they care about. They just want to know that they can get me to suck the court's dick. It was like if they try to put me in jail, like because his probation gonna be up or whatever, because I smoked weed one time. He's like, I'm just fucking out. He's like, they don't know where I am. Like, I don't fucking tell them anything, right? Like, they don't know that I moved. I know I got this job. I was like, I see why my dad is this way. I see why I am this way, right? Because he could just, he's like, what are they going to do? They ain't going to come to my house and arrest me. All the shit I have in the court hearings are over the, internet. He's like, well, are they going to come arrest me? If they ain't come arrest me, I'll just fucking leave. Like, I'll be out. How did he put it? He said, it's a Bob Seger reference. I'm going to Kathmandu. That's what he said. I'm a Kathmandu it. We can just get out of this bitch. I was like, so I think some of those things can carry on, like, because sometimes people can just be too smart for their own good. Because, like you said, their ego gets in their way because they just think I'm too smart to fall for this, or it's the same way when someone. The people that are really annoying are people that are like have PhDs about shit. They have a PhD in one thing. I don't notice it as much with like medical doctors, but like they have a PhD in something. They know a lot about one thing. They think they just fucking know everything about everything. Yeah, and it's like, but you don't
like Neil deGrasse Tyson. You just like, aren't you like astrophysicist? Why the fuck I care about anything else you say?
Yeah, he kind of is guilty of that. He's like, I'm a generalized smart dude because I have this PhD in this thing, right? And so generally speaking, the people that it's probably like Sam Harris. Sam Harris mostly talks about neuroscience because he's a neuroscientist. He talks about how it applies to human well-being. He talks about how it applies to free will. He talks about how it applies to morality and the things that we learn from neuroscience that can inform these positions. But he doesn't talk about physics. He doesn't know anything about physics. Maybe he probably knows more than I do, which is to say something. But anyway, so good read. You're good book so far. Did you finish it?
It's a good book so far. It's good reading, good listening.
Good listening.
Yeah. And finished Queen's Gambit, the book and the series.
Ooh, the book.
I thought we talked about that. We didn't talk about this already on the podcast.
You watched it, but I was like, oh, I've never seen it.
Anna Taylor-Joy, hot or not?
They doll her up in the series, but I don't know if she looks good in regular life. I don't know. I don't know. She's just really weird looking.
She looks like a cat.
Yeah. She looks like an anime character.
Is that hot or no?
I don't know.
She doesn't do it for you?
She's attractive, but it's like...
It's one of those, like, empirically she's attractive, but she doesn't scratch an itch for me kind of thing?
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, I was telling her about it last night, and she's like, does he think she's hot or not? And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't actually come up. She's weird looking. We agreed on that.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, I can see that she's very attractive. It was like, not my thing. And that got me into, like, you know, since I have a lot more free time, just like learn how to play chess.
Yeah.
Doing that.
Get your game up, we'll play some.
We'll see.
We'll see.
So doing that. Another one, watched Joe Rogan had George St. Pierre on. Probably one of my favorite MMA fighters. He was in the podcast, and it was pretty interesting because it seemed like he turned the page on, or closed the book on him fighting again. Because there was a big to-do about Habib fighting him for like a super fight. And I think that just closed up. And he was like pretty much spilling the beans on like some of his tactics he was using. Kind of like he talked about like a lot of his fears when he was fighting. And just opened up a lot. And after hearing him talk about some of his strategies, I watched some of his old fights. It was pretty cool to watch a lot of stuff again. So enjoyed that.
Yeah. Rogan gets the best out of people in interviews, man. He really does. I think that's part of it. It's just wears you down over like a long time.
Oh yeah, you can't have like a wall built up for like 3 hours. You can't
unless you're Robert Downey Jr. Apparently, Robert Downey Jr. could do that. For all fucking day.
That guy was slick, man. He would just like turn it a little bit. It's like, so Joe, what are we talking about? This fight next or what? It was like, what?
Yeah, it was 3 hours of just playing fucking grab ass, trying to get a hold of like what that guy's actual personality is like, and it's just like, nope. I'm just like this all the time. This is how I am.
That's disturbing.
I mean,
it's kind of a feat.
It makes
to watch that.
It makes sense though when you think about if you're Robert Downey Jr. and how many times you've been up and down, and the few times he's ever really expressed an authentic opinion about stuff in public, it's just backfired on him, and his career has been up and down, and now he's on top, and he just wants to stay there forever. Like he just doesn't. It's like, yep, he basically just has this attitude like, I'm a guy in movies, I'm not a public figure. Like, you're not going to get through to the real person that I am being a public figure. Like, I'm just going to keep that to myself. And
I keep meaning to listen to Joe Rogan, but I don't know, like, where to start. Because the episodes are so long, too, so I don't know.
Well, it kind of depends on what your interests are, like science, fighting, comedians. There's a few choices. There's like different like kind of lanes you could take by listening to him, because it's
I feel like I would like him.
Yeah, I like him.
it's weird that, like, I've said this before, I don't know why more gals don't like Joe Rogan. Like,
he's a little bit of a meathead.
See, the thing is he's not, I mean, he's a little bit of a meathead, but the reason he has such a broad appeal is that he straddles several worlds: combat sports, comedy, and then he like forays into like politics and intellectual endeavors as well. Yeah. So it's like, I don't like, he's basically like the closest thing that you could argue is like just like a fucking alpha male in society. He's smart, he's funny, he's like somewhat handsome, he's in really good shape, and he's dangerous physically. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know why more women don't like have a big crush on Joe Rogan, because it's like, if I were a lady, like, he's like a pretty handsome dude, he's super, like, he could kick the shit out of anybody.
Sounds like you have a crush.
But he's like smart. Now, if I ever had a crush on a dude, it'd be Hitch. Hitch is like my celebrity crush, like intellectual crush.
I could see that, but like early years, not later years.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not when he was all like bald and stuff.
Oh, I'm not talking about aesthetics. Aesthetics don't do anything for me when it comes to dudes. Like, I'm trying to think of like who's even like a guy that I can acknowledge as empirically handsome, like Tom Cruise or Chris Hemsworth or someone, right? Like there's empirically handsome men.
But for the most part, do all women are attracted to alpha males, or is it like, because it seems like it's kind of a turn where it's like kind of like that fucking beta cuck.
Sure, and there's like certain, like, you know, like Robert Downey Jr. is the cool guy, right? He's got that cool guy demeanor, and like Chris Pratt's like a funny guy, right? Like, so, but in general, it's like, I don't think I've ever known any woman that's ever expressed any opinion about Joe Rogan for positive or negative, and that's really weird.
Maybe he's just too alpha meathead.
Maybe,
but I don't think women find that attractive. I don't know.
But then, like, they like athletes and stuff.
I don't know that a lot of women know about him or listen to
They
him.
have to. He's the biggest podcaster on the planet.
Well, they probably know him because of their boyfriends always talk about him.
Maybe that's what it is.
Or they're a triggered feminist type and they hate him.
Yeah.
That's probably true. I mean, I don't know. I would think that like being handsome is the least of what, like, you know, like James Gandolfini. I'm sure like ladies found him attractive, and he was not a handsome guy. Or plenty of like, I don't. Some guys that chicks are just like, he's so sexy. Like Usher. I don't get why people think Usher is good looking. He looks weird.
Because he's famous.
Yeah, he's famous, right? So women are as concerned with like.
Yeah, because you're right. Because he does take off. He is S tier, like influencer, S tier, like kind of. He's knowledgeable within fighting, has a black belt in 2 different martial arts, and talks about fighting all the time.
I mean, as far as like just prominence goes,
yeah,
though,
and he's S tier, like I said, in influence.
He's not even S tier. He's like literally in a category by himself. Like as far as like prominence of podcasts goes.
Okay, I'm gonna look up a picture of him. I'll tell you if he's attractive.
Well, he's like 50 years old too, but
No, that doesn't stop me.
I'm trying to think of another like I don't like.
There's like in the podcast world, he is S tier. He's like on his own. You can't really think of any other podcaster that's in that same level.
Yeah, if he's S tier, then no one else is. That's my argument.
Yeah,
like there's.
It's hard.
But there has to be like some guys that are like. They're
like pre-podcast would be like Stern. Now he's S tier, but that's for old radio.
Yeah,
I mean, he's not bad looking.
Yeah, he just looks kind of like a meathead.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily
Smash or pass.
Yeah.
Smash
or pass.
Smash or pass.
Yeah, I wouldn't kick him out of bed.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah. So I just always, I don't know, like I don't think I've ever even known a woman that said like, oh yeah, I listen to Joe Rogan, or I hate that guy, or I really like him, or anything like that. It's just.
But then again, how many women do you really know or talk to ever?
Well, I have known a lot. I mean, I don't actively talk to a lot, and usually it's just like for them to tell me to get away from them or whatever, so that's understandable, but you know, it doesn't even seem like in the blogosphere that there's some sort of like ladies that dig him, you know. But I don't know, maybe there is. Maybe there's a whole subset of women that I'm unaware of that are like really into Joe Rogan.
I've never met one.
Really into Jordan Peterson or something. You know.
Let's see. Oh, and finished River of Doubt. That was a good read too.
Fiction?
The Teddy Roosevelt
Oh.
story of him traveling to Brazil to track the River of Doubt, and it's a mix between like I don't know how to explain it. It's just like a natural history mixed in with the story of the true story of him going down the river. And it's great to have like firsthand accounts of people writing in their journals of what was going on at the time, rather than like kind of deducing what happened.
Yeah.
And like I think the fucked up part is that after he came back to the U.S., he was really fucked up. That probably took years off his life traveling down that river.
What happened to him?
He probably had malaria, and then I think he had a previous injury with his leg, and that got like all messed up while he was traveling down there, and the malaria kind of did him in, because it like would come back once in a while and just zap him with energy. And I think the fucked up part is like after he goes through that trip, people are like, I don't think he actually went down that river. I think he's lying. Look at him, he's probably lying right now. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Teddy Roosevelt kick your ass.
Yeah, that guy was a badass, dude. He is, and then reading the accounts, he was like a leader of men.
Yeah.
Basically, he's like when he's super sick, he carried like an extra vial of morphine, and it's like he told his troops like, if I ever slow you guys down, I'm just gonna shoot myself with this thing, and night. Yeah. So it's like the whole like even him trekking down that thing, you would think they would kind of like treat him like an emperor, like ex-president coming down to do this stuff. We gotta protect him, and he would like outpace some of the natives there. They would go on hunting trips. Guys would like pass out on the ground. He's like, "Oh, bully! Look at that!" He's dusting himself off. So yeah, he's an interesting character.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that he was ever qualified to be president, but you know, whatever. At least we elected men as presidents back then. Like, you can't. That's one thing you say about Teddy Roosevelt is he was a fucking man if there ever was one, right? Like,
yeah. In his childhood, he was like very sickly and, this weird kind of made up his own mind of like what kind of man he wanted to be, and he just did it.
Yeah, it was back when you could do that. You could just decide I'm going to be this person, and then just go be that person.
Yeah,
because no one would stop you.
Yeah.
You think you can't do that anymore?
I don't think you can to the degree that you could then. I don't think you can just decide. Like, Don Draper syndrome.
What do you mean?
Well, for those of you that haven't seen Mad Men, Don Draper just decides, I'm going to be an ad guy. He doesn't go to school for that. He doesn't really even learn how to do it. He just decides, I will be this thing. And through sheer grit, like, he just becomes that thing, like, assimilates that identity in some somewhat nefarious ways.
I think you see that in modern times, especially that whole entrepreneur thing. I'm like, I'm a future CEO. Like, in what?
Yeah, but we call those people con men now.
Yeah.
Like,
who's to say that people in the past were doing the same? Like Don Draper, he didn't con his way, and
He definitely did. Yeah.
he did. But the key difference is that in the show we illustrate how Don.
You did?
What we see in the show. I don't illustrate anything ever. But you see in the show that, like, he actually is a very competent ad man, and part of that is probably his outsider status to a certain degree. That he doesn't come from the same pedigree that, like, all these other people come from, and so he has an outside perspective. It was like people could do that back then, like what was it? There was like some bridge or something like that, some like infrastructure pipe project or something. That, like, some dude that was, like, not an architect or whatever, didn't have any formal training in this shit. He just came up with it. And he just pitched the public works idea to people. And it was a good idea. Because in the past, it didn't matter so much about who you were or where you came from as it does now. Right? Where I would argue that a lot of the WeWorks guy, selling somebody on a concept. And then if you could execute that concept in some way, but the concept is flawed. It's not like I can be the best X and then just being the best X. Someone would have something to say about whether you were qualified or whether you came from a privileged background or you didn't come from a privileged background or your voice matters because you're a marginalized minority or it doesn't because you're X or Y or Z. It's like we're more concerned with people's upbringing, status in life, and a large of that is a byproduct of connectivity, so we have more access to that information. Like Teddy Roosevelt could just march one state over from where he was, and there's a possibility no one would even know who he is, and he's like, I am a farmer.
Oh, actually, no, like they were saying that in that confidence game, that it's actually easier now to con people.
How so?
Because they were saying that you could make a digital trail that's very easy to fake, and the access of which you could contact a lot of people is a little bit more widespread. So the con game's a little bit lot more widespread than it is back then.
Yeah, but that's a numbers game. That's not making a more plausible con. That's just you have more access to more people. So on any individual level, it's not necessarily easier to con people, but you're casting a wider dragnet, so you're going to catch more fish in it. So that makes sense. But what I'm saying is that you, like, if you rewind before the digital age,
you can just lie. I'm the prince of whatever.
Yeah, like you could just be a snake oil salesman, and from one town to another, like they won't know that your health claims are bogus or that people died from whatever you gave them because they have no way. It's the Bonnie and Clyde effect, right? Like this is why the FBI exists, because Bonnie and Clyde realized, like, hey, if we just don't stay too long in any municipality, once we get out of that, we can commit some crimes, and once we get out of the jurisdiction of that place, there's no coordinated effort to catch us. We'll just hopscotch around the country. And people will have notoriety. People will know who we are, but they'll be impotent to stop us.
I guess I could see that. So my great grandmother, my mom's grandma, she basically lied her way. She was really good at cooking. And she has like this very cool life story where she started all of these restaurants, even though she was a divorcee in like the 40s, which was not something you did. But she had to support herself. And she even got invited by the dictator to be his personal chef. Like, she had this renown. but she didn't really have much of a formal education, and it was this thing in our family even, like, if you can do something, just tell people that you've done it before. Just lie and like
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, like get the job and you'll be fine. Like you'll figure it out. You'll learn on the job. But yeah, I don't know how much you can really do that anymore.
I think it's very possible to do that. Just fake your way into doing it. A lot of people a lot of people that got caught doing it. The whole like, I'm a billionaire, but like, what? From what?
Yeah,
No, I just am.
But the things are still more verifiable for sure. Like you can verify who someone is and what they've done and everything, but it's just like whether someone will care enough to check that. And a lot of that has to do with someone caring enough to it's like almost a it's almost like the fact that we are so interconnected has made us lazy and even bothering to verify that thing. It's like, well, who will claim to be that thing if they weren't? Because anyone could check it out, and so no one does.
Yeah.
Like no one ever checks it out to see.
Yeah,
like,
we had a run in with a guy. I don't know if he was trying to con anybody, but he was just telling all these crazy lies.
Oh, golf pro.
Yeah, the golf pro was like, people can find that out, or you've gone golfing with these guys, and they like, this guy is not a pro.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it's hard to tell because I think anybody who's known their share of people in life has probably known somebody who's a pathological liar. I don't think all pathological liars are con men. And I don't even necessarily think all con men are pathological liars, because I would argue that con men tell very specific lies for specific reasons. And some people just tell blanket lies about just things that don't even matter. Like did you have cereal for breakfast? Yeah, I totally had cereal. And it's like, well, why did I see the egg pan in the sink and like we were out of milk? Did you go get milk? If you got milk, then where is the milk? Well, no, I mean, I had cereal, and you're just like...
Yeah, I had a boss when I was working retail, and she dated a guy like that. She just figured out he was a pathological liar, and it was exactly that. Like, he'd lie about what he had for lunch, like, for no reason. It was really heartbreaking, actually.
Yeah.
Because she's like, I don't know what to do with that. I think to leave him.
I think that on some level, it's a level of neuroses. Because if you think about why people lie, they typically lie because they're worried about their self-image. They're worried about their ego in some way being hurt by someone else's expectations of them. And so these people must just have some sort of, especially because almost everybody that lies pathologically, they will lie about mundane things, but the way you get cued into the fact that they're a pathological liar is that they tell self-aggrandizing lies almost always, right? They know famous people, or they rub elbows with billionaires, or they're super competent at golf, or whatever it is that they're because that gets them some level of social cachet. And so I think that it's probably some sort of neuroses, that they're just super worried about how they're perceived. And the pathological liar is likely worried about how they're perceived about something as innocuous as like their breakfast in some way. And so they feel compelled to just fabricate things all the time. This is this huge disconnect from reality. And they think, that's what's so pathetic about it, is that they seem like children, because you're just like, do you think that I can't tell you're lying to me right now?
Yeah.
Like you know, I knew this guy in Ann Arbor that was that way. He was just constantly talking about like, all these famous people he knew, and like all these things that he's done. And it's like, da-da-da-da. And it's like, dude, I've known you for 2 years and I've never seen you do anything other than sit at the cigar shop and tell lies. It's like,
oh no, but that was like before I started smoking cigars.
yeah, and you just decided randomly to stop all that fancy jet setting lifestyle, and just hang out with us plebes here at the cigar shop.
Yeah.
It's like, that doesn't jive.
Okay, I accidentally inhaled that.
Yeah.
Whoa, noob.
So it's just like, yeah, I don't, you just know somebody that tells self-aggrandizing lies like that, and you're just like, so I'm just usually skeptical of anybody saying that they're, like, I don't know, usually if you're cool, you don't talk about how cool you are. Other people will just tell someone, like, oh, that guy's fucking, guy said he's really fucking good at golf. He'll kick your fucking ass at golf, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so that's
kind of the best kind of, I don't know how to spread your fable of, like, if other people talk about it. Like, if I brag about myself, like, yeah, that guy's fucking full of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if people witness what you've done and they spread the word,
Well, part of it is too is that like when it comes to most things, it's if you are say you're somewhat competent at something, usually these things have to do with competency in some regard, or they have to do with social cachet, money, and stuff like that, celebrity. But like if they have something to do with like competency, I'm really good at X. And if you are competent at X, then you know, there's a reason you don't brag that you can beat people up, because you know people that can probably beat you up.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, that guy is fucking awesome, right? Like, that guy fucking kill you in like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a pussy compared to that.
Opposite of Dunning-Kruger effect.
No, they didn't.
No, that's part of it.
That's part of it.
Because the more competent you are at something, the more you know the
Yeah.
field, and you know when someone's better.
Yeah. So like smart people are better at estimating what their intelligence is than they don't overestimate their intelligence as much as dumb people do, because they just realize, like, if you're really smart, you've met really smart people.
Yeah.
And so you're like, oh, I'm probably normal, you know? And you're like, no, you're pretty...
I'm not an idiot.
You're probably pretty smart. So if you are competent at something, you have a tendency to understate your competency at said thing. And so, but other people are a sounding board, right? If other people say that you're good at something, or competent, or smart, or, you know, good in bed, or whatever it is, like, you...
Oh man, that guy smashes so good.
Right? I mean, like, you know, like who would do that? Who would go around talking about, like, fucking ladies fucking love me, bro. Fucking smash it like crazy.
Yeah, I have heard that. That's pathetic.
Yeah, it just seems childish. It's just like, are you serious?
Are you in 5th grade?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, you know, like when I was in middle school, bro, like fucking all these hoes and smashing them and stuff.
Oh god, it's so sad. I never have the heart to say anything about it when he goes on like that.
Oh,
I just,
we're not gonna say anything.
I just can't. It's too much.
Like, oh, sure, buddy.
It's but yeah, you know, if you were competent at something, other people around you in your orbit that have experienced that would likely say something to third party. Because why I hate carrying my own pool cue anywhere, because people, you're a fucking pool shark. You're fucking pool. This guy's a pool shark. You got your own pool cue. It's like, no, dude, I just like shoot pool.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I'm okay.
What's a pool shark?
Somebody who's really good at pool who hustles you.
Oh.
And so it's like, if you have your own pool cue, especially if you bring, it's like if you ever shoot pool at a bar, don't ever bring your pool cue to the bar, because people won't want to play with you, because they just assume that you're really good, because in the minds of somebody who sucks at pool, the only person that owns their own pool cue is somebody who's really good.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no. I mean, like, if you don't play pool at all, like, I'll probably kick your ass, but like, on the relative scale of pool players, I'm not very good at all. But that's because I know how good some pool players are, and they're animals. Yeah. And so, yeah.
Yeah, the only time I've ever seen anybody that was really, like, Sin. He's really good at golf. He'll talk some shit, but, like, when people, like, at that point when they're talking shit so much, like, this guy can't be that good. But hearing other people's like, yeah, the guy's fucking legit.
Sen's a unique case, though, because he talks shit even... Like, he talked shit when we played pool. So, I'll fuck you up at pool. I'll fuck you up at pool. And then we went and played pool, and he just kind of shut up. Like, he didn't say anything else. It was like, all right, yeah. Same thing when we played chess. He was like, you fucking play chess with me? You don't want to play chess with me? I'll fuck you up. And I was like, okay, let's play, dude. Like, I used to play quite a bit. But then to be fair, like, he's like, oh yeah, like I'm pretty good. Fucking Adam is really good. Like, Adam is really fucking good. Yeah. Like, he is really fucking good at chess. But yeah, so it's like, he's kind of a unique case there, because he enjoys talking shit, but then he also is like pretty good at some things. Yeah. Like, you know, but yeah.
Oh.
So you've been reading quite a bit.
Listening.
Oh, listening. You're an audiobook person.
Yeah, it's the easiest way for me to fit in books.
I tried audiobooks and I can't. It's fine, but I don't really enjoy it that much. I'll do it for like business books, which I never really like. If I'm going to sit down to read, I want to read something fun. And so business books are kind of like medicine. Like, I have to download this into my brain, like some book on marketing. And so I'll just kind of listen to stuff when I take walks, or I used to. But yeah, I couldn't stick with it.
Yeah. They're like, with fiction, it's fine, but nonfiction, it's hard to keep up with it. That, and it depends on the reader too, because like, you can get someone that really sucks at reading.
Okay.
Like, I heard Stephen King's terrible for like listening to.
Yeah.
Like, did you write this?
You know, it's funny.
You wrote this, right?
It's funny because I actually enjoy reading nonfiction more than I enjoy reading fiction.
Huh.
And so for me, it's like when I can breeze through a nonfiction book a little bit better.
I'm the opposite.
Yeah, it's yeah. You tell us about the Satanic Verses. You finished the
Yes.
controversial book, the Satanic Verses.
Well, you know some Satanic verses?
She does.
Well,
Yeah, it was really good actually. So I picked it up partly because I read Hitch 22, and then he talks about being friends with Salman Rushdie, and he talks about the Satanic Verses and the whole controversy, and I was like, okay, I should probably read this book. You know, just based on it's kind of a heavy book and just a controversy, I expected it to be, I don't know, I expected it to be like very dense or difficult to get through, but it was really kind of funny and very weird. It reminds me of Gabriel Garcia Marquez, like the magical realism. So it starts with these two guys that fall out of a plane. Like the plane is hijacked and explodes midair, and they fall out of the plane and they survive. And one of them turns into the Archangel Gabriel, and the other one starts turning into Satan.
okay.
So that's the starting point for the book. Yeah, apparently the controversy, like if you read it, you won't get it. I didn't get it. I had to like kind of look up where it comes from. Apparently, so in the book, the character that becomes the Archangel Gabriel, he has these like dreams where he's the angel, and he sees himself like talking to the prophet, to Muhammad. Apparently there's this like non-canonical thing where some early biographers of Muhammad said that he was trying to convert some people from Mecca, and that he tried to make a compromise where he said that their goddesses would become holy in his religion, but then he took it back. And the canonical version is that this never happened. But the non-canonical version is that he said that because he had been tricked by Satan. I mean, it sounds like he tried to kind of strike a deal, but it's very unflattering. So this is in the book. Like him saying that and like being tricked by Satan is in the book. Totally went over my head that that's offensive. So I didn't like read the book. Like there's a lot of criticisms of religion that are very sophisticated, but apparently that's not the problem.
Okay.
So yeah, it was really enjoyable. It was funny and very strange. Yeah, I would definitely recommend it. It's just, it had some very interesting takes on religion, where he basically, like in the universe of the book, God is real and supernatural stuff happens all the time, or it happens. But it kind of asks a more interesting question, which is that these God, or whatever you want to call it, he tends to be very cruel, even to his followers. So even if he does exist, do we like him? Which is kind of a more interesting question.
Okay.
But yeah, that doesn't seem to be the controversial part. It's just having that thing in there that was like non-canonical is very upsetting, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I liked it.
Oh, okay. All right, check it out. That kind of reminds me of I was watching the first episode of Murder Amongst Mormons, and it was a whole to-do about this. Joseph Smith wrote this letter, and it mentioned a white salamander instead of an angel giving him the information of these tablets, and apparently that broke the religion, like a salamander versus an angel. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, and there's a bit of that in the book as well. Like at one point, this gal is a prophet, and she has interludes with the angel where he gives her information, and then she, like, a lot of supernatural stuff happens, but then her followers find out that the angel is giving her revelations in music to the tune of like top hits.
Okay.
And they just kind of just go off and like stop believing in her. I don't know, it breaks the religion, which is kind of funny. But yeah, there's a lot of very interesting commentary in there. There's a bit where this poet is called to answer for his crimes, and he makes people laugh.
Okay.
And the prophet has him beheaded.
Okay.
And so there's like this thing where like the one class of people that the prophet will not stand are poets and artists. And people that make their audience laugh, because there's no room for a sense of humor if you're a fanatic. which is kind of what happened to Salman Rushdie. His book is quite funny, and some people just don't have a sense of humor because they want him dead, and they still do. So yeah, I definitely would recommend it. And then I read Evicted, which was nonfiction. That was interesting as well. It was about like poverty in America, and just it followed all of these different families that are getting evicted from their homes, and how like rental laws and landlords affect them. Did not, like, the author's a proponent of universal housing voucher system.
Okay.
Didn't necessarily agree with that, but I've worked in property management, so it kind of put a lot of things into perspective. It's a depressing read, for sure.
Another uplifting book.
Another uplifting book. Yeah, people just getting kicked out of their homes, and their kids are going hungry. It's super fun. But yeah, that was interesting too. I just don't know if, like, because it kind of deals with government intervention in the market, right? And how, like, a lot of these policies are made with good intentions, like public housing, but then you concentrate all of these people that are poor and desperate, and a lot of them, like, not all of them are criminals, but a lot of the criminals are very poor.
Yeah.
And then you end up with the projects, and nobody likes those.
Yeah.
And then, sometimes you have, and it gave the example of housing vouchers, how they really don't work, because landlords know that this person has a guaranteed income, so they charge more. And then the housing voucher program costs like way more than it should for taxpayers. And so all of these things, yeah, I don't know if there's an answer for them, but it was an interesting read. I think David is more, he has more of a hardline stance than I do. I mean, I'm reading the book and I'm just like, oh my God, these poor people, these like sad families. And he's like, I don't know that they should get a break. I think I'm a little bit more empathetic than you are.
I don't think it's a matter of not thinking that they should get a break. It's just what constitutes a break. It's just like you were talking about, like, well, these people, and they get like evicted and they can't pay their rent. And so their items get confiscated and put in a storage that they now have to pay for to get that thing back. And I fully concede that that's tough luck. It really sucks. But it really doesn't change the fact that, like, my whole premise in life in general is that just people respond to incentives, right? It's like I apparently think like an economist. And so if you want more of that behavior, then if you incentivize it in some way, you don't make there be consequences for not paying your rent, not paying for, your stuff. If there's no consequences, or the consequences are very soft consequences, then you are effectively incentivizing them to do that, and you'll get more of that. And that's not good, because it's not good on the whole. And so it's just a matter of, what are we incentivizing, and how do we not incentivize that, or de-incentivize certain behavior that we don't want. And so that's, I think that, like I was telling you at the shop, it's different because we think of housing as a staple of life. It's like food or whatever else, like these things that we just think that people shouldn't have to go without. But the problem is that if you're a purveyor of those goods, and you have somebody saying that you can't collect a debt that's owed to you, whether it's healthcare or housing or whatever, then that will inevitably drive the cost of things up, because you effectively will say, okay, well, you can't afford your housing, so the government will pay for your housing. So it's the same thing with the housing voucher. It's like, okay, so the government pays for your housing, and either these people don't get their debts or they get it from the government. And so this just creates like a cycle of, like, it's basically, in a roundabout way, it's the same problem that we have with education. People saying education is a right? A right to go to college. And so you go, like, you have all the government issuing loans for people that don't have a high degree of ability to pay them back, because it's a right. You can't deny it to them. So they don't have a high degree of ability to pay it back. So they get out in the market, in the job market, they can't pay it back, And so, and then now what? The university educated them, and the education wasn't free, and so now the university doesn't get paid, but they do get paid because they get paid from the government. So they just have an incentive to just keep pushing their cost up, and that doesn't help the students at all. Like, it just makes education more expensive for the students, and the government gets elected, they get re-elected on the promise that they will continue to pay for this shit. Your education will get more expensive and the universities get rich. And meanwhile, the regular person that's getting an education is getting fucked. And so,
Sorry.
it's not like, it's not that
Yeah.
All right, there you go.
Okay.
it's not that I don't have sympathy for poor people. It's just, but their problem is not that they can't pay their rent. Their problem is that they're poor. And unless you're prepared to basically just wholly subsidize the fact that they're poor, it's like a whole segment of the population just can't afford to do X, Y, or Z. And unless you're prepared to just say that we're going to subsidize that, then you're not really ameliorating the problem at all. What you need to do is you need to teach them in some way, empower them to not be poor. And so, and even if you were prepared to subsidize their entire life, I would argue that that's just as unjust, because now you're basically telling all of the productive, hardworking members of society that pay taxes, whether you want to or not, you will just pay for these people over here who just are incapable. And they go like, well, why are they incapable? They're not fundamentally made from anything different than I am. Well, they had different upbringings and different circumstances. And okay, yeah, I'm sympathetic to that. And that's not fortunate. But can you explain to me, it's just the same thing you were saying about the people with not all poor people are criminals, but almost all criminals are poor people. It's
Right.
the same conundrum you have with Islam, right? Not most Muslims are not terrorists, but almost all terrorists are Islamic persuasion, right? They're almost all Muslims, like, across the world. And so that's a huge problem, is because you cast a dragnet to take care of most of the people that are probably just in disparate circumstances, had poor upbringings, were abused, maybe are just too dumb to really go to college and like earn a decent living. But you also have a huge segment of people, and when you're talking about all of the poor people in the country, it's a lot of people aggregately. It's not a huge segment of the poor, but it's a lot of people aggregately who are just ne'er-do-wells. They're bums. They don't want to work. They're lazy. They're willfully ignorant, and they're just keen to catch a free ride. And if you're somebody who pays taxes, I can certainly see being like, man, I don't want to fucking pay for those people, So how do we tease out the people that, if empowered, would get better results in life, and try to break down some of the barriers that prevent them from doing well in life? And I don't think that just giving them a handout in any capacity will do that. It will incentivize that behavior, and so you will get more of that behavior. Why has fatherlessness in minority communities rose since the 1960s? It's just been trending up every decade since the 1960s. And yet we have a higher rate of fatherless homes than we ever have. We've made it a lot easier to be a single mother. And I'm not suggesting that all or even most of the aid that single mothers get is erroneous, but the details do matter. When you incentivize something, you get more of it. And so you want to incentivize people not paying their rent, you will get more people not paying their rent. Like, that's my stance. I don't know that it's unempathetic. I mean, that's really for any listener to decide, but
All two of you.
One
One is right here.
Yeah. The most dedicated. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to read though, because a lot of it is like these very poor people, and it just seems like because they're already poor, like they're constantly getting hit. Like someone's getting evicted, and then their stuff gets taken away into storage, and now they have to pay for that, and they can't, and then they like miss a payment because something else happens. Like someone dies and they have to pitch in for the funeral or whatever, because more people in their circle of kin and friends die more often, and then they miss a payment and they lose all their stuff, and it's like now they have nothing. So it's stuff like that where they just can't seem to catch a break, and it's very dispiriting because I don't know if any policy can really fix that. So
Yeah, but certain
it's a good read, but it's depressing.
Certain policies, I would say, probably will have a better chance of getting better results. When, generally speaking, when people feel like they work for something, they have earned it more and they're more invested in it than when they get a handout. And that's part of my problem with discussions around things that have to do with policy like this, is it's like you add extra layers to it. Like you had made the point where it's like, man, if you could probably help poverty a lot by just making education more rigorous and just providing more access to birth control and education around birth control would probably go a long way toward those two things. But then you have a subset of that, which is
people trying to game the system.
Well, no, the places that provide birth control and the places that provide education. You can't just dump money into education, right? You can't just say, we're just going to fund the shit out of education because you have teachers, and teachers are their own set of people that respond to incentives. And so now if you're just paying them tons of money, doesn't necessarily mean they're going to just like do better. So you have to like troubleshoot that component of it. You have to break it down to its individual components that have chances of working. And then you have to break those individual components down to what do we do to make this thing work? Because when you have a system like, say, poor schools, like people that come from poor schools don't do well in life because they don't have a good education. So what we're going to do is we're going to make, to try to get a handle on what schools are bad schools, we're going to make funding contingent upon performance.
Right, that worked out real well.
And that's a horrible idea, right? You just see like now you have like schools that do well, and if you're a teacher and you work at one of those schools and you do a great job of educating your kids, suddenly you have no money, and all the shitty places like have tons and tons of money, like, and they don't seem to be doing any better. And usually that has a lot to do with all sorts of, like, it has to do with unions, it has to do with incentives and the environment and like concentration of poor people and all these things that are at play. But in general, that experiment hasn't been quiet on the results, which is usually when you dump a bunch of money into poor schools, what you see is a lot more luxury cars in the parking lot and a lot of still really stupid kids. And so it's just like you have to break that down to its individual components and try to understand the set of incentives that are at play there. And I'm not suggesting it's not complicated, but as it turns out, adjusting people's lifetime of behavior based on learned behavior in an environment is no fucking easy task. It's a very, very difficult thing to do because you're just trying to basically change the way someone exists. And I went on this diatribe about with homelessness too, and trying to solve the homeless conundrum.
Just give them homes. That's what they need.
Yeah, it's like what you would have to do is you'd have to just tear down everything that is that being and rebuild it up into the image of what you think a person is. And I would argue that, like in doing that, you've stripped the whole argument around homelessness tends to center around human rights, and so it's like, I would argue that if you're prepared to just strip an entire person down and rebuild them in your image, that you've just robbed them of any human right they might have. Like, you're just forcing them to be what you think a person should be. And I'm not even disagreeing that is what a person should be, because I see some people and I'm like, that's not a person in the way that I'm
half a step away from being an animal.
Yeah, right. You're just like, that's not a person in the way that I mean you're a person or she's a person. It's just like a different thing. I mean, biologically, yeah, they're people, but they're just not the thing that we call a person, right? Like, you have a talk with a person on the bus, or you have a talk with this guy on the bus, you might go mad in like 30 seconds or like run screaming for the hills. That's not a response to like what we would call a functioning member of society. So if you're just going to I fear that sort of authority where you can like just strip people down and rebuild them in your image. It kind of segues into news, because I was reading this article about this, about re-education camps in China. It was fucking chilling, dude.
Oh, in the northern province.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this right, but the Uyghur people.
Yeah.
Well,
can't-
wait, but
I'm probably not saying that right.
I forgot how it's pronounced.
Yeah.
Or something like that, I'm sure. But yeah, about this gal that had she'd come to America, and she was part of that like ethnic minority there, and like borders Kazakhstan, I think. And
Oh, the Muslim Chinese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so yeah, she's part
Uyghur,
I think is right. Yeah.
I don't
And
know.
she's part of that ethnic minority, and like they just found out that because she's that ethnic minority, and that she had traveled to the United States, they just put her in this fucking re-education camp, like just basically just to try to strip her down the very essence of what it is that it means for her to be a person, and try to rebuild her in the image of, you know, Mother China or whatever.
Nobody does that as well as the communists, that's for sure.
Yeah, they're good at that.
They
Well,
are
because
great at
that's
that.
their whole tenet, right? And it's a built-in axiom, right? Just strip you down to the, you know, just the shit that is like just the basis level human being, and then just, you know, we're all equal shit, like equal shit, and then we'll just build you up so that you can keep us rich and in power, and that's super great. So
she got out of that?
yeah, I assume I actually have one section left of the article still, but yeah, I just got to the point where they're letting her out, and it all just seems arbitrary, which I'm sure rings true to you. It's just like no rhyme or reason or guidelines as to like any idea of how you're supposed to be. Yeah, just how you're supposed to be behaving. Just keep you in the dark, and you'll know when you've done well enough to be let go, because we'll let you go.
That is terrifying.
But yeah. Anyway, speaking of China, my other bit of news. Did you hear that? This is not surprising to me at all. So now that Pokey Joe's in office and Trump isn't, China has come out and basically said, we're the captain of the boat now.
Oh, I heard that.
They're basically like, yeah, we're a superpower now.
Mm-hmm.
That we
They just announced that?
yeah, not in those words, but basically they said, I think their phrasing was, we're on equal footing with the United States now. Mm-hmm. They just decided now, like, you know,
You just can't say that.
yeah, you know how like, you know, there's like just
There's rules to the game. We make these rules.
there's just, you know, just the one superpower now that the Soviet Union collapsed, and so, but China basically just said like, no, we're a superpower now too. We decided.
They decided.
They
Oh,
just
yeah.
Good times.
So yep. That's a thing that you have to deal with for not electing Trump again. Not that there aren't trade-offs, but it's not just clear progress. Like, Biden's unequivocally better than Trump, because they didn't fucking do that shit when Trump was in office. They were like, oh, sanctions? Okay, yeah, like, you know, you're right. We've been getting a little uppity lately. And Trump's like, yeah, you're bad. He was let me tell you bad. America first. Make America great again. And they were just like, oh, okay, yeah. Like, just that guy might just push the fucking button, man. We don't know what he's going to do. And then Biden.
That's a bad hair day,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Biden gets in office and he's like a reasonable politician. He's like a normal dude. And he's like, yeah, you know, we got to be friends. And they're like, no, we are the captain of the boat now. We are. It's like, oh, okay, fuck.
Is that your Chinese accent? That's not Chinese.
Somali.
Okay.
Got any other news?
No.
You got a new story?
Yeah, you got a new story?
Oh, I was just reading in the Wall Street Journal that Peloton treadmills have been declared unsafe
Oh,
because
wow.
they're killing children.
Oh.
Well, no, they killed one child, but then they can like injure children. There's something about like
Any treadmill can injure a child.
No,
it's
but
a bike.
it's the treadmill
Oh, the
sold
treadmill.
by Peloton. It's like a smart treadmill, which I don't understand why you need it to be smart. Like, isn't a treadmill
Run faster.
a treadmill? Yeah, I don't know. But apparently something about like the rollers can like pull children under them or something.
Uh-huh.
Same thing for pets. So they're telling all people that have children and pets in their home to stop using their treadmill and to keep everyone away from it.
Peloton is telling everyone this?
Well, no, the government is telling everyone. Peloton says that the report is inaccurate and misleading, and I just found it all very funny because I have no heart. So,
Don't they have a sticker that says that? Like, no small children or animals near this product? Just to cover their ass.
yeah, I mean, I guess they do, and they have safety protocols, but and I guess part of that is like shutting off the treadmill. But I think everyone's just at home. Like, parents are working out and their kids are running around.
Yeah.
and it's more likely to cause injury. But I just think that anyone that buys a Peloton is probably a little uppity, and they probably deserve to have their pets dragged under the treadmill.
jeez.
Damn, that's a little harsh.
Yeah, it's
That's a little harsh.
No, the real question
I'm just
is.
kidding. No, that's too harsh.
It's on tape now.
It's on tape. No, I probably shouldn't find it funny, but I just did.
It's no
Small dogs mangled by Peloton treadmill.
Yeah.
The real question would be is how have the sales of Peloton been since that whole like woke blowback that they had?
Oh, I don't know about this. What was that?
Oh, you don't remember this? It was like this whole thing where it was like,
my husband just bought me a Peloton.
yeah, it's
oh
like,
my god,
you know, get her a Peloton, you know, and it was all like there was this whole like woke movement about like how it was body shaming and Peloton was evil. And all
That
this.
sounds about right.
Maybe they just got on the liberal shit list, man. Maybe they were just like, yeah, we don't care, and then like they're like, yeah, we don't care if you woke idiots, you fat fucking like, you know, disgusting walruses think we're body shaming. You don't use our products anyway, so we don't care. And then maybe their sales just like skyrocketed during the pandemic, and the fucking the woke
great.
liberals were just like, fucking Peloton, like fuck them. You know what? This shit's unsafe. They're like,
kill my dog. Look at it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just found it funny mainly because it's supposed to be like this very high end, like you're very healthy, you're probably blonde and bouncy, and you're using your Peloton, and now it's like evil all of a sudden, and
You got your AirPods on.
Yeah,
and
you have to appreciate the absurd.
And it ate your dog.
It ate your dog.
Man, I knew this girl in middle school. She came to school one day, and she had like this big fucking like gash like on her face. And everybody kept asking her, what happened to you? And she was like, yeah, I got on the treadmill and it like it was like set really fast, and basically it just jerked her in her face. She just ate shit on the fucking treadmill.
That's horrible.
It was so funny though. Oh man, I still laugh thinking about it.
This is why we're a couple. You do realize that.
Katie Tanis. I still remember her name. She was one of the teacher's daughters too. It's like, what happened to you? Fucking ate shit on a fucking treadmill.
Speaking of dead dogs, DMX has died at the age of 50. Yeah, he OD'd and was on a ventilator or life support.
What did he OD on?
I don't know. They didn't say.
Yeah, I didn't hear what
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. There's a lot of DMX playing lately, so
yeah.
That's my new. Well, wait, would I have another one?
Yeah, it sounded like it was a rough ride for him.
Yeah.
So.
He did give it to us.
Yeah, he did give it to us.
I don't get this.
There are songs by DMX, Rough Riders, and X gonna give it to you. He gonna give it to you.
I have never listened to this.
I know.
Man accidentally shoots himself at Walmart trying on pants. A man accidentally shot and wounded himself while trying on a pair of pants in a dressing room in Walmart on Friday. He is rushed to the local hospital and no other injuries were reported.
Wait, so like he had a gun in his pocket?
Something like that. He tried on some pants and shot himself.
They're like, oh my god, what's wrong with him? They rush him into the hospital, and the doctor's like, oh, this is natural causes. He's just an idiot. So natural for, him. So you get out of here now.
It would be pretty dope if doctors were allowed to say stuff like that.
It's just, oh, what's wrong with me, doc? Oh, you're just dumb. You're just too dumb to exist in society. I mean, we can patch you up now, but the likelihood that some stupid shit like this will happen again and you'll just die is pretty good. You need to be called from the gene pool.
The man who has not been named visited Walmart in Oregon while trying on pants in the dressing room. His pistol fell out of his pocket, according to this thing. The firearm hit the floor and discharged, hitting the man in the back of the leg before the bullet lodged itself in his ankle.
Ouch. Also, why was he carrying around a loaded gun?
I don't know.
Because it would be useless to carry around a gun that wasn't loaded.
No, I get that, but isn't part of gun safety from my one gun safety class, like, you don't carry around a loaded gun, you have, like, bullets or a clip or whatever, and then if you want to use the gun, you load it. But, like...
You gotta be ready when those minorities try to take your stuff.
No, moreover, why wasn't it, like, in a holster or something?
I don't know.
Yeah.
With the safety on.
Exactly.
That's I mean, like,
I mean, it takes a lot, like, when you do proper gun safety, it takes a lot to, like, go from 0 to, like, I'm firing the gun now. There should be some steps in between.
yeah. Yeah, that's why, thus, see my previous comment about going to the emergency room.
What else do I have? That's it. How about you? Got more news?
No, that was the only news I had.
Damn.
Oh, wait, no. I did have something else. What was it? Fuck. No, I don't remember now. Forgot. Nothing. That's it.
Oh.
All for me. I'm all newsed out.
Oh.
You got any more news, Bo?
This isn't super recent. It was probably from a few weeks ago, but that Russian dissident, I want to say Andrei Navalsky, probably not saying that right either, but he started a hunger strike. He's the one that the Russians poisoned previously.
Oh, wasn't he talking to hella shit? He's like,
Yeah.
no, bro, don't talk about us. No, I'll talk the most shit I want.
He was talking shit. They poisoned him with this, like, neural agent. He was in a coma for a while, and then they put him in prison for some sort of charge that doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't know exactly. The charge seems to be, like, being a dissident in general. And now he's saying that he's going on a hunger strike because he's been injured while in captivity, and he's not allowed to see a doctor. So I'm not sure if anybody cares, or this guy's just going to starve to death. But
He's going to starve to death.
You know, that Russia being Russia is news, I guess.
They're friends,
I thought they,
bro.
like, lost him at one point in jail. Like, oh, we don't know where he is.
That doesn't seem likely.
Well, they said they lost him.
Right, but that doesn't actually seem likely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I
That
was
guy has
in...
some huge balls, dude.
Yeah.
Didn't he? Wasn't he out? He wasn't in the UK, and then he went back to Russia.
Yeah.
Dude, that guy has huge balls, dude.
Or he's crazy.
Probably.
Well, you
Call him
kinda-
A, call him B.
Yeah, it's probably, like, I mean, you kind of, in order to have huge balls, you have to be, like, what most people will call a little bit crazy. Right?
Yeah.
Like that guy that picked a fight with fucking Deontay Wilder or whoever it was.
Oh, Charlie Z.
Yeah.
Who are these people?
Deontay Wilder was the world heavyweight boxing champ.
Okay.
And the other guy is nobody.
Okay.
He's basically me.
So there's a disparity in physical prowess. Is
That
what I'm
is
hearing.
an understatement of the fucking century. It's like
Okay.
saying there's a physical disparity in the size of Cuba and the United States. Right?
Sure.
Like, that's, yeah. So, and he was just getting all up in his face, basically. Just like, I'll bite you, I'll fuck you up, bro. Fucking just like trying to attack him and shit. Just like talking all kinds of shit.
Yeah, this guy was known to go to like gyms or like, basically a lot of like 24-hour fitness, challenge people. It's like light spar. And this guy goes like balls to the wall trying to knock people out. And if the guy has any boxing skills and gives it back to him, he's like, oh, I quit. Just kidding. I won.
Yeah.
Like, he's crazy.
Yeah.
Sounds a little like he might be. What's the politically correct way to say this?
Retarded?
That's what I
Whoa.
was looking for, but not in those words.
Slow?
Childish.
Slow.
Childish.
He's a little slow. The other children think
Immature.
fast. They think fast. They move fast. Billy's a little slow.
Kind of like that,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's all I have.
Yeah. That's yeah, well, so that's so yeah, that guy's probably just gonna die because Russia got no fucks to give.
Yeah.
It's just, we don't.
I know, it doesn't seem like the West cares anymore. I mean, because back in the day, right, when the USSR was like big and scary and they used to kill political dissidents like right and left, and that was like good times for them. It seemed like the West cared. Like a lot of those writers would defect to the United States or to France or something.
But they would stay here. They
yeah.
wouldn't go back and like slap Mother Russia in the face and say fuck off. Like, and if they did, the states would be like, well, we're not going to go to war with Russia over you. So,
I mean,
sucks
Or
to
it
be
could
you.
be like a Khashoggi, where they like kill him in the embassy, and then like America's like, I don't know, they bought a lot of bombs from us, so they're cool.
yeah, I mean, it just doesn't seem like the U.S. has that kind of attitude anymore, where they take these people in. It just seems like, because there's definitely some stuff that China's doing with their political dissidents, like in Hong Kong and
yeah.
stuff, and I don't hear anything about like the U.S. protecting those people. It just seems like it's like, oh, you're SOL.
Yeah, well, it's not surprising considering we wouldn't, like, the U.S. didn't even, like, nobody in the States, like, when all the fucking Charlie Hebdo cartoons, those people all got killed, like, nobody would even say that that was bad. They shouldn't have killed those people. Like, that's the state of affairs. Like, you just, like, a Danish cartoonist drew Mohammed, and then terrorists, like, blew up their fucking newsroom and killed a bunch of people. And nobody would even, let alone do anything about it, nobody would even say, like, that was wrong that they did that. It was all this, like, mealy-mouthed capitulationist bullshit about, like, well, you know, it's just like, you know, they shouldn't have offended them, basically. It's like, oh, okay, good, cool. Like, that's the state of affairs now? Like, we're just gonna say that that's okay. It's fucking Denmark, too. It's not like someone went to Russia and, like, slapped fucking Russia and said, hey, fuck you, what are you gonna do about it, man? Like, they're just like, oh, it's in Denmark. And it's super nice, peaceful people, right? Killed a bunch of them, and we're just like, we're cool with that, I guess. So it's not really that surprising when you think about it. And depressing.
It is depressing. Yeah, I guess Salman Rushdie was kind of the first of that.
Mm-hmm.
He was the canary in the coal mine.
Yep.
I don't know what that sound was.
I don't know what that sound was
I
either.
don't know either.
Can still hear all of us, so that's good.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, again, I wouldn't have gotten what was offensive about his book, because it does seem like, if you read the Satanic Verses, that he offends everyone. Like, he does level criticisms against the British, and there's a lot of funny stuff. Bless you.
Scusi.
There's a lot of funny comments about, like, immigrants discussing what the trouble with the British is, and then the angel decides that the trouble with the British is their weather, which is pretty hilarious. But you know, there's criticisms of the British, there's criticisms of the Indians and the Muslims, and there's, you know, ancient peoples. Like, he seems to get everyone. You know, I'm sure the feminists can get offended in some way reading that book. Like, he seems to get everyone in there pretty evenly. But yeah, apparently we can't have that anymore.
What is that noise?
I think it's like someone's moving and touching it. Like, do this.
Do it.
Rotate your chair.
Which way?
There you go. That's what it is.
It's me?
I think
it's a wire, like,
Yeah.
touching.
Yep.
I'm the problem.
It's that wire moving. When she rotates her chair, she touches that wire and the wire moves. And
It's because you have a girl interrupting your podcast man's night. I'm just ruining everything. That's what it is.
Yeah. You're womansplaining. Well, you know. That's
I was going to talk about, like, a cigar, but we didn't really pick the cigar to do.
I wasn't sure if you still had something that you wanted to try. Like, you got like a bunch of new stuff, and you were like, "But we tried everything, didn't we?"
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. What were you smoking?
I was smoking the private stock. Private stock. From Davidoff. Little second cheapy guys.
Yeah. Oh, pretty
it's
good. Yeah.
We'll talk about it later, because I didn't really, like, think about writing down notes, so.
I don't know. Yeah.
It's good.
Plus, you know, we don't want to, like, exclude our guest from the discussion.
No, I enjoy listening to you guys talk about this stuff. I don't understand any of it, but you know, you talk about, like, the oaky or whatever fruity notes or something. So it just sounds like people talking about wine to me.
It's like, look at the legs on
How's
this
that
guy.
claw? Guys, talk about that claw.
Oh man, yeah, it's like, you know, it's pretty good.
It's 100 calories.
You've never had it before. What's your impression? What's your review?
My review is that I can get slightly buzzed for 100 calories.
200 if you're drinking 2.
200. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I could have a few of these, and then the next time my parents come over, I could probably get through that a lot easier.
No, see, the thing is what you don't realize is that drinking 2 of those, you'd probably have to drink 3 of those to be about as drunk as you would on one cocktail, and the caloric intake would be actually more. Because a cocktail, like, one shot of gin is like 50 or 60 calories. And then, so add fruit juice. So the whole drink is probably
150, something like that.
maybe 200. So drinking 2 of those is probably about the same as a cocktail's caloric intake. But you're probably not as drunk as one cocktail, are you?
No.
Yeah.
It's just for an easy time, bro. I'm not trying to party too hard.
For relaxing times.
I love that movie.
All right. You want to take us out? Is that all we got?
That's pretty much it for this week. Got anything else?
I got nothing else. What do you got? What do you got, Bo? Take it out. Take it out. You should just say your outro. Say your outro, and then it'll play.
No, I'm not gonna do that. Nobody needs that in their life.
No,
Super meta.
it's super meta.
Whoa.
Say the outro right before your outro.
Yeah, when you guys make it big, I expect to be compensated for this.
I'm already pretty big.
Okay.
At least my brother seems to think so.
Oh damn! What's going on, bro? How you doing? Hi. What's up? What's up? Hey. How's work? Maybe we can hang out sometime. Did I tell you about that? That was like when he left, he was like, "Hey, like I know Diana's got like work and stuff during the week, and like you work on the weekends, but I was thinking maybe sometime like, I could just come like during the week. If Diana has to work and stuff, it's cool. Like we could just hang out." And I was like, yeah, I guess if you want to, man, like that's cool. We can hang out, whatever. I guess I'm just fucking babysitting a 17-year-old now.
Yeah.
But
It's because you love me.
but no, it's just like, well, whatever. Like I will say he's gotten a lot better. Like every time he comes over, he seems like he gets a little bit better. And so again, people respond to incentives. And so I just been incentivizing him to not be a little obnoxious shit, and it seems to be having some effect. Mm-hmm. But he was like, yeah, we should like, we could like play some D&D. And I'm like, well, if Diana wants to play, like we can all get a game together. So I was like, maybe like, you get some of your buddies to come over. And I was like, that's not gonna happen. He's like,
It was really brutal.
and he
It really was.
They don't want to play with you.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said.
No. Back it up. At first, what I said was, well,
I'm glad I'm not getting fake news from this guy. I got the real reporter right here.
That's how.
No.
Truth bombs.
No, I was brutal secondarily, but I did try to give him an out, which is what I said was he pushed me into being brutal with him because
It's his fault.
I was like,
She wanted
Blame the
it.
victim. That's perfect.
She was dressed like that.
Why would you dress like that? Why? Of course.
I'll just
She
tell
was asking for
I'll
it.
just tell you what happened, and you make up your own mind. He said, hey, I was like, hang out. And I said, well, man, like we play D&D like on the days of the week that like my friends have off, and like we have our regular game. And for the rest of the week, like we're all adults, man. We have like lives and other shit to do. So I don't think that they're really going to be available to come over on like a Monday or a Tuesday or a Wednesday to like all hang out and play D&D. And he was like, well, yeah, but like, like maybe we could like go to wherever they are and like hang out at the shop or whatever. And like, like I'm sure they can figure it out or whatever. Like I'm flexible. And so I just had to be like, dude, look, like my friends don't want to hang out with you. Like they're not gonna do that. And he's like, well, why not?
Who's right here?
And I was like, he was like, why not? And I was like, well, dude, you're like my friends don't want to hang out with like a 17-year-old.
We're grown adults.
Yeah. And he was like, it still wasn't getting. He's like, well, why? I was like, how many 40-year-old men do you hang out with besides me? And he's like, none. And I'm like, there's a reason for that. And then he just kind of got like this dejected look and just like walked out.
He hasn't texted or called since he's been over. Now you know why.
Fucking asshole.
No,
Probably crying into his pillow.
I have his number. I was gonna text him and be like, hey, if you want to come over, like, and hang out, like,
Should take like a selfie of us playing D&D's. Like, wish you were here.
That would be mean. But no, like
You would do that.
I'm not adverse to him coming over. It's just like
Fumbled on your charisma check.
you know
Get
what,
the
man?
fuck out of here.
You know what? Like, fuck you, because the reason that I did that was out of friendship to you. Like not putting you in the awkward position of being like, hey, do you want to come over and play D&D with me and Diana's brother? And you having to be like, I don't want to fucking hang out with that kid. So I was saving you from having to be mean because I know you don't want to fucking do that. I know you don't want to do that, and neither does Beto. And like, and like Chris works constantly when he's not playing D. Just like
I feel like my brother and Chris Davis would get along swimmingly.
it's just like maybe.
They're very similar.
Yeah, but damn, I guess you're banking on Chris Davis not listening to this podcast. But yeah, so I was trying to save you because I don't even want to ask you, right? And I'm not gonna tell him that I'll ask you, and
I'm not gonna lie to him.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to him, like, and say like, oh, I asked him and he's really busy or whatever. Like, I'm not gonna do that. Like, why? That doesn't do him any
Going
favors.
hat shopping. What do you want? You gonna bother him with your hat shopping?
He's going hat shopping, bro.
He's buying some cool necklaces.
He's got machining to do. So yeah, I'm not gonna like have a cringy interaction with you or lie to him, because those are much worse than just telling him like, no, it's not gonna happen. Like, you just fucking. Like, you and I can hang out, and me, you, and Diana can play D&D if you want to play D&D. But, like, I don't want him hanging out with my friends, and I don't want my friends don't want to hang out with him. Like, it's
just ruin your relationship with your other friends. Like, this fucking guy brought it. Like, oh my god, why would he do that?
Because he just wants to hang out with the cool kids, is what it is. He thinks we're the cool
bunch
kids.
Of 40-year-olds.
Yeah.
You are not the cool kids.
But he thinks we are, because we're not a bunch of neurotic gay teens, apparently, because I guess compared to him, we're pretty fucking cool. Because everyone is cool compared to your brother, because he's kind of a dork. But that's not his fault.
I mean, it runs in the family. I'm kind of a dork.
He's 17. It's not his fault. Like, really, if I
wouldn't it just be kind of weird? A bunch of like close to 40-year-olds, like, hey, this 17-year-old kid's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Come over here, we'll play some games.
Yeah, that'd be weird.
That'd be weird.
Right. If I wanted to be mean, what I would have told him is like, no, you're still a work in progress. Once I beat out of you all your fucking annoying habits, then you'll be ready to like meet real people.
Uh-huh.
That would have been mean. Like, I'm in the process of beating these horrible habits out of you so that you can interact with normal people. And then once you're ready to do that, then I'll take you out into the big bright world, maybe. But even then, I got brothers, man. I don't fucking need another one. I don't even talk to them.
He's more of an admirer, though.
No, he's not.
I'm googly eye when he sees
I'm like his big brother. That's the closest thing I am. The closest approximation I have is that I'm like his big brother, because I'm not really old enough to be his dad. I mean, I guess technically I am, but not old enough to be his dad. So like, I'm just like a big brother, or like a cool uncle or something, I guess, maybe. I don't know.
I didn't build this.
I didn't build it. I don't know. Whatever. Get out of my house. Why are you here?
All right. I think that does it for this week.
That does it for this week.
Yeah, I did pretty good on time.
Thanks for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe.
No.
You know what? If you're going to make fun, I'm going to withdraw the rights.
Oh, no, I'm not making fun. It's an homage.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Don't take shit from anybody and go fuck yourself.
Oh.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to Mikey and the Press Pass podcast. Consider subscribing. You can rate and review us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, and pretty much anywhere where you can listen to podcasts. And you can also write us with any ideas, suggestions, or horrible burning criticism at mikeyandthepresspass@gmail.com. Thank you.